I'm going to show exactly how you can go from barely doing any pull-ups to being a pull-up master in just 30 days. Now, I've been getting a lot of comments about the pull-ups and the complexities of the progress. For example, Oscar said, how can I work on pull-ups without a band? Then we have Milk who says I can do 10 dips, but I can't do even 5 pull-ups. And then the last one was saying how he can't even lift his own body weight. Like, bro, that's pretty tough, man. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But that's exactly why I'm here. So I got you. Because I'm going to actually help answer each and every one of those questions with practical training strategies and methods so then that way you can take that first step into mastering your pull-ups. Now, I'm going to be laying out 3 different approaches for 3 different personas to just essentially help cultivate different scenarios to help pinpoint exactly what you need to do. Now, persona number 1 is going to be a person who cannot even do a single pull-up. So for my last comment that I read out, user 49, this is going to be for you, all right? Then we have persona number 2. This is going to be an individual who can do up to 5 pull-ups. So that could be 1, 2, 3, or 5. I don't know why I just skipped 4 like that, but anyways. And last but not least will be persona 3. So they can do anywhere up to 8 to 12 pull-ups. So this person's definitely been consistent with their pull-up training, but it's just not good enough because in the calisthenic world, you're still considered a beginner, which is not bad. I'm just kind of like putting some kind of milestones to follow as far as feats of strength. So that being said, let's go back over to persona number 1. Now this individual right here can't even do a single pull-up, so they have 0 strength. That being said, I'm going to assume since you can't do a single pull-up, you're either overweight or you just haven't even been in a day in the gym. So you're completely weak right here, man. And it's not good, all right? So here's what you're going to do instead. You want to make sure you're able to build the strength and skill needed to learn to pull up by having up to 4 training sessions. 2 of those sessions will be focused on strengthening your relative strength, and the other 2 will be focused on strengthening your absolute strength. Now, by relative strength, this just means that you want to get used to training with your own body weight. Reason being is, if you're overweight, training the pull-ups will be extremely hard if you did the traditional route, meaning utilizing resistance bands, doing different progressions, things of that nature. Now, the same thing on the flip side occurs if you're extremely weak, even if you do have a very low body fat percentage. That being said, the 2 main exercises that you want to focus on in this specific persona is going to be a lat pull down and the inverted rows. Now, the lat pull down will mimic the same muscle groups being worked as a pull up, but you're eliminating the core strength element required from the pull-ups. In most cases, for learning the pull-ups, this will be a horrible approach. But in this specific scenario, it's actually very beneficial because it's a lower barrier to entry in terms of learning the pull-ups itself. And that's by at least building some kind of strength to even begin with. So that's the main reason why we have the lat pull downs, so you can just get comfortable with the movement pattern, hence it's the vertical pulling movement pattern, and also build some kind of strength in your lats and upper back. Now you want to do anywhere between 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 15 reps on the lat pull downs. This right here is going to be taking care of our absolute strength. Then it will be the inverted rows. Now this exercise right here will be important because you're going to be incorporating the missing link between the lat pull downs and the pull-ups, which is the core strength needed. It's also a closed chain pulling movement similar to that of the pull-ups, since we're moving our body through space to engage the desired muscles. Whereas lat pull down is an open chain movement where you're moving the weight to engage the desired muscles. Now with the inverted rows, you want to eventually work up to 5 sets for anywhere between 5 to 8 reps or so. Now the reason why we're doing 5 sets is because realistically, you're not going to be doing many repetitions on these inverted rows since you have very little strength, right? So it's important to actually reduce the number of repetitions per set, but increase the number of sets. When doing more sets and less reps, you'll be giving yourself more practice to perform an exercise at a higher quality without gassing yourself out at the end of the set. And to be quite frank, by using the higher set, lower reps approach, this is actually how I learned the handstand push-up and many other advanced exercises. This is really just to kind of help understand the exercise itself, get all the necessary mental cues, understand how to go through the movement pattern, and ultimately just make the exercise feel a little bit easier without gassing yourself out, without going to fatigue. But more importantly, it's all about practicing the movement. So with me learning the handstand push-up, I had to practice it in a more feasible manner, meaning it had to be very meticulous. I had to program it in a way where I wasn't training the handstand push-up without the wall every single session till failure every single time. Otherwise, I wouldn't be seeing results, right? So same thing applies to the inverted rows for the journey of learning the pull-ups. Same principle, just different applications, all right? Now let's move on to persona number 2. So you have the strength to do up to 5 reps on the pull-ups. Congrats, man. But you're still pretty weak, man. I'm not gonna cap. So what this is telling me is that you're just lacking overall relative strength in regards to your pulling exercises. So what we need to do is essentially train the pull-ups more often per week. And this is all going to be so we can focus on perfecting the exercise execution, as well as building more pulling strength needed to perfect the pull-up. So here's how we're going to do this. It's going to be broken in 3 different exercises: the pull-ups, the inverted rows, and then finally the band-assisted pull-ups. Now, whenever you're training the pull-ups with just your body weight, it's going to be categorized as a strength-based day, meaning the intensity will be pretty high because since you can only do 5 reps and you training your body weight, every repetition is going to feel pretty heavy. So let's kind of put that into a weight perspective. If you're training the barbell squats and you're doing a strength day, you're going to be choosing heavier loads. So similar to that with pull-up training with your body weight, you want to do a progression, aka bodyweight pull-ups, to make the intensity feel heavier, right? It's a heavy load because you can only do 5 reps. So each rep is going to be a lot closer to your max. So hopefully that makes sense. That being said, you're going to be having up to 2 to 3 sessions where you're just training the pull-ups with your own body weight, but you're not going to be doing it to failure every single session. And here's how to do it. Remember the last point on persona number 1, how we're doing higher sets? We're actually going to be doing the same thing for persona number 2. So you want to work with the pull-ups for up to 5 sets. But what we're going to do here is, say you can do up to 5 reps on the pull-ups at most. You want to cut that number in half, and then that's how much repetitions you're going to do for 5 sets. So in a more practical standpoint, that's going to be 5 sets of 2 to 3 reps or so. Then in that same session, right, you're going to get the bands and you're going to start doing 3 sets of anywhere between 8 to maybe like 12 to 15 reps. Essentially, you're going to be going to failure. This is going to help build more volume because with the bands, you're decreasing the intensity, meaning you're decreasing the amount of body weight that you're actually pulling because the thickness of the band will just kind of just make the pull-up feel a little bit easier. So this is going to be our volume work within that same session. So I highly recommend you choosing a band that's thick enough to get you at least between 8 to 10 reps. If you can do more, that's great. Afterwards, for your last exercise will be the inverted rows to kind of help supplement your pulling strength. And this exercise is very specific to learning to pull up because, again, it is a closed chain exercise. Now, I want you to do 3 sets of anywhere between 10 to 15 reps. Again, this is going to be an exercise that will just help overall supplement your pull-up strength. And since it's a lower barrier to entry, you should really be going to failure on this specific exercise right here, since you can just do more repetitions on the inverted rows compared to that of the pull-ups. So take this exercise seriously, all right? It's no joke. Otherwise, we'll just be playing around with this exercise and not really getting the most bang for your buck type shit. So listen closely, man. That being said, if you do this 2 to 3 times per week, then there's no doubt in my mind that you're going to be on your way to perfecting your pull-ups and getting some pretty significant numbers. And that's all because we broke it down to a structure, right? First, we'll have a strength-based exercise, which is the bodyweight pull-ups, where you're doing more sets, lower reps, just to practice and test your strength. Then will be a more volume-based exercise for the pull-ups. So you'll be doing band-assisted pull-ups for anywhere between 3 sets for 8 to 15 reps, give or take. And then finally, to supplement that volume work as well, is be doing the inverted rows, which is honestly like one of the best supplemental exercises specific to the pull-ups. And last but not least, man, it's going to be persona number 3, all right? Now, this person right here is capable of doing anywhere between 8 to 12 pull-ups or more. Now, I would classify you as a beginner because you established the basic strength when it comes to training with your own body weight. And to best help you out, we're going to be taking a slightly different approach compared to that of persona number 1 and 2, mainly in terms of like how we're going to be approaching our training, but essentially still the same strategies. Now, what we're going to be doing here is training the pull-ups with a strength-based approach, as well as using exercises to help incorporate more volume. Same thing that we did with persona 1 and 2. Now, since we have the strength to do anywhere between like 8 to 10 reps or so, we're actually going to be doing weighted pull-ups for our strength-based sessions. So in session 1, I want you to focus on choosing a weight where you can do up to 5 sets for 5 reps. Now, this session right here is going to help break that barrier beyond your body weight. Like, you're just not getting into weighted calisthenics. You're just about to be getting into that Super Saiyan strength, if you know what I mean, man. Now, this will be the only time where you'll be doing the weighted pull-ups. And then for the 2 other sessions will be more volume-based work. So here's how we're going to be splitting these 2 sessions. The first one aka the second session of the week, will be something where you train for higher repetitions. So because we can only do realistically 8 to 12 reps on body weight, we're not going to be adding weights. Instead, we're going to focus on doing 3 sets of basically failure repetitions. So realistically, that's going to look like 10 to like maybe 15 reps. But I will say you want a minimum of at least 8 reps on your volume-based day of training with your body weight. So essentially your objective is just to fail between 8 reps as your minimum. And why did my lights turn off, man? Now the other session, right, that second volume session, aka the third pull-up training session of the week, will be focused more on technique and also slowing down the tempo, which is another variable for progressive overload. So now you'll be doing 3 sets again till failure, but this time all you've been doing is just briefly pausing at the top of the pull-up to kind of just increase that tempo. And I doubt you're gonna be doing as many repetitions as your last sessions where you're just doing standard tempo. So this is gonna be a little bit more difficult, but because we're squeezing at the top, pausing at the very top of the exercise, which is considered like the hardest part of the movement, this is just gonna help overall reinforce that relative strength, master your body weight, so you can just get to that point of doing like crazy amounts of pull-ups, weighted pull-ups, and so on. So if you do that, man, 1 weighted pull-up session, 1 bodyweight session where you train to failure, another session for technique-based training, then there's no doubt in my mind that you're going to be mastering the pull-ups. But hey, what do I know? If you like to see more content like this, be sure to follow me, man. I'm the Tough Fitness Guy out here. No cap.
Cobra Trains, he's up next. Make sure y'all subscribe to him. He's number 1 out here.
He's the toughest fitness guy out here.